Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Raja Umar on my channel RU Speaks. Raja Umar speaks for you for the subjects of Pakistan studies and global perspectives. In the last few days, we were talking about the component 3, I mean the team project of the global perspective subject of IGCSE and O levels both, and we are done with it. And now I am again switching to history, I mean the component 1 of Pakistan studies, where we were over there in the events of 1930s, and we had done the Congress rule of 1937 to 1939, and we have talked about that what sort of cruelties and atrocities the Muslims faced during the Congress rule after the elections of 1937, in which All India Muslim League performed poorly, and across the subcontinent, whether Indian National Congress made its ministries or with the support of the other parties. So in this way, even the All India Muslim League could not establish the governments in the Muslim majority provinces like Punjab and Bengal. So a reminder, do not forget to subscribe my channel RU Speaks. A great stuff for you, I believe, for the sake of your better learning of Pakistan studies and global perspectives. Moving on with the next topic of history, that is really very important topic, and that is the Lahore Resolution of 1940. And here we have the topic with us, the Pakistan Resolution. It is known as, and in the beginning it was called as the Lahore Resolution, but with the passage of time, even the Hindus, they gave this name satirically to the Muslims, that it is the Pakistan movement, and the Muslims, they are going to establish Pakistan from this platform of this resolution. And the leadership of All India Muslim League really liked this idea given by Hindus, and they started calling it the Pakistan Resolution. So now the topic is Pakistan Resolution of 1940. Reason for passing Pakistan Resolution, that why it was necessary to pass this resolution in 1940. So it means that this can be a 7 marks question for you, that why was it necessary to pass Pakistan Resolution, or why was Pakistan Resolution passed in 1940, right? So in any way the question can be like this. So this is the question, reasons for passing Pakistan Resolution in 1940, then I mean why. So since the arrival of the British, Muslims were second class citizens, and so they wanted a homeland where they themselves could rule. So it means that whenever they felt that they were declared as inferiors, and they were feeling it for last 100 or more than 100 years, that the Hindus, they were siding with the British, and the British, they were the rulers, they were the dominant authority over here in the subcontinent, and this was the land of the Muslims. This was the land where Muslims ruled for many centuries. So they wanted that they should be having the land to rule by themselves. For this sake, they passed this resolution so that Pakistan could be established, where they could be able to exercise their own powers in the subcontinent. Western democracy was a threat to Muslims, as they were always a minority. As you know that what is the rule of the democracy, that the majority would be the authority. So in the subcontinent, the majority power was Hindus. So if we apply the same democracy rules over here in the subcontinent, definitely the Hindus would be ruling whole of the subcontinent for the whole life, till the end of this world. So this Muslims did not want. They want that this Western democracy would ruin their identity, and they would remain in minority throughout. They would not be able to having any powers throughout. They would not be able to establish the central government when the subcontinent would remain as a single state. So that's why they demanded Pakistan. They demanded partition in 1940 because of, through the platform of this Pakistan resolution. All efforts to protect Muslim interests were in vain, and now the only solution was proposed, that is the partition. You know that, as if I talk about Lucknow Pact, if I talk about the, even if I go beyond, before that, the partition of Bengal, Minto Morley reforms, then Lucknow Pact, reversal was done of partition, and then what happened? The Monte Chelmsford reforms, all in vain. They were nothing to do with the Muslims. They were not giving any rights to the Muslims. They were not increasing the Muslim representation in the subcontinent. Even if they increased, still Muslims were in minority as per the democracy rule, right? Simon Commission failed, Nehru report failed, Jinnah's 14 points failed, and all failures. I mean, Allahabad Address was the idea of a single person at that time, Allama Iqbal, and roundtable conferences failed. The new constitution proved failure. Congress rule, that was fatal for the Muslims, and then the things come to the Pakistan resolution. As all previous efforts which were made to resolve the issue of the subcontinent, to move towards the better living over here, and a sort of concise and in coherence, they all failed. So that's why the things finally moved towards the last resort, that was the partition. So Congress rule of 1937 to 1939, this particular rule proved that how Muslims would be treated in the subcontinent if there would be no partition. This proved that how cruel and how fatal were the Hindus against the Muslims. So keeping in view all these things, Muslims started thinking to have their own homeland, that is Pakistan, and which was demanded over here in Pakistan Resolution of 1940. So now the next thing, that is the importance. Again, we are having a 7 marks question over here. Why was Pakistan resolution important in the history of the subcontinent? So this can be another one. Why was the Pakistan resolution important for the Muslims? Right? So this can be another 7 marks question with us. So this showed Muslims how to protect their rights. I mean, if you believe that your rights are under threat, and after making many efforts you are unable to protect your rights, so it means that the final stage should be independence. So it means that this was a really very important resolution which gave a clear-cut pathway to the Muslims that in which direction they are supposed to move in the subcontinent now, as what all other ways they have adopted in the past, they all were, you can say, they all were blocked. They could not move on, and they all were having the closed ends. So now they are on the highway towards independence. So all negotiations between British Hindus on this issue, now they have given a single point agenda now. Single point agenda. That whenever there would be the dialogue process, whether between the Muslims and Hindus or between the Muslims and the British, the single point would be that Muslims, they wanted Pakistan. That's it. So it means that this gave, as I was telling in the previous sentence, that this gave a clear pathway to the Muslims that what would be their ultimate destination, that is independence, that is creation of Pakistan. So Muslim League was the voice of Muslims, and Jinnah was declared as the undisputed leaders. So this particular resolution brought the unity among all the facts of the Muslim League, as we have seen that in the late 1920s, All India Muslim League had scattered into Mia Muhammad Shafi group and Jinnah group. But this particular resolution brought all the Muslims on the single platform, All India Muslim League. That's it. And all other factors and all other divisions they were made in the 1920s, they all vanished, and Muslim League became the single, sole, united and true representative of the Muslims of the subcontinent. So this is how this brought unity among the Muslims, and this gave the clear-cut pathway to the Muslims, and this showed that how the Muslims were supposed to protect their rights, and this gave a single idea of negotiations, the dialogue process between the Muslims and the British or the Hindus, that only and only Pakistan. So if you explain these 3 points in 3 separate paragraphs, you develop these points and you give the evaluation or analysis of these points over there, then you will be awarded with 7 marks. So very important question it is. Now the next topic, that is the Cripps Mission of 1942, another attempt by the British to resolve the political crisis in the subcontinent as the crisis started worsening. As you know that the whole of the world was in World War II, and the British were really very badly indulged into that war, and they were really very much you can say depressed, that they were over there in stress in Europe because of that World War II, and over here there was the severe political crisis in the subcontinent. So they wanted that this crisis should be resolved so that they could be easily focused over there in that war against the Germans, but all failed. So their stress not decreased but further intensified, and they sent Cripps Mission over here in the subcontinent. Sir Stafford Cripps of 1942, he arrived over here to bring some proposals to the Indians regarding the resolution of the issue of the subcontinent, but all those proposals, they were rejected. Anyways, why did Cripps Mission arrive in India? That is another 7 marks question with us. Why? As the reasons are given over here that why this Cripps Mission was sent to India. Number 1, to tell Indians how serious the war was to the British as well as for the subcontinent. So just it was a sort of threat to the Indians as well, given by the British, that the British, they were suffering a lot in World War II, and they wanted to convey the message to the Indians in a threatening way that if the British would be losing that war, World War II, definitely the impact would come on the subcontinent and on the locals as well. So what they wanted, that the locals should be supporting and should be with the British side, should be providing with the soldiers, so that the British should come in the victorious position in that World War II, and then the issue of the subcontinent would be resolved when the war would be over. So it means that, as you know, that the Japanese, they were approaching towards the South Asia really very quickly. They were moving towards Hong Kong, and they were moving towards Myanmar and Thailand. So just to stop them over there, it was must that the Indians should be participating in that war to support the British, and they must be joining the royal forces to fight against the Germans and the Japanese in that war. So to seek the support of the locals, and just to give them some sort of courage that after the war the British would try to resolve the political crisis of the subcontinent as per the wishes of the people of the subcontinent. That's why first they gave a sort of threat that how serious the war could be for the British and for the subcontinent if the British would be on the back foot in that war. So for this sake, they sent the Cripps Mission, point number 1. Now moving to point number 2, to persuade Congress and Muslim League to support Britain in that war. So this is what I was saying, that the British was really desperate to get the support of the locals from the subcontinent over here. But they, whatever the proposals they were presenting all those things with the slogan, with a phrase, after the war. So they wanted the support of the Indians right now in 1942, but they wanted to give concessions to the Indians after the war. So in that way, what I believe that this was not really very much acceptable. If it was a give and take situation, then it should be at the same spot. If the British wanted the support of the locals, definitely the locals should be given the concessions right there. So number 3, to promise them self-rule at the end of the war. This is what I was telling right now, that they wanted to give self-rule to the Indians, but not right there in 1942, but after the war. But they wanted support right now. So what were the proposals presented by Sir Stafford Cripps? Indian Union would be set up in with dominion status. I mean quite independent self-rule for the locals, that no internal interference would be there by the British over here in the subcontinent, and the subcontinent would be declared as a dominion, not a colony. So that was somehow a plus point, that finally the British came to that point where the Muslims and the Hindus, now the Muslims had another aspect of independence, Pakistan, but before 1940 Muslims were also demanding self-rule. Muslims were also demanding more representation. Muslims were demanding the protection of their rights. But Congress was demanding this self-rule for the last 2-3 decades, right? Whenever the Congress launched the non-cooperation movement in the subcontinent, the major focus was to attain self-rule in the subcontinent. So it means that in any way you can say that this particular proposal was a sort of success of the locals, that finally the British came to that point to award the dominion status or the self-rule to the locals here in the subcontinent. After the war, Constituent Assembly should frame the new constitution. The new constitution as per the will and wish of the people of the subcontinent. This was the proposal. But what would happen after the war, that God knows. So they presented this proposal that the new constitution would be established, and that constitution would be favoring the locals over here in the subcontinent, and as per that constitution the locals would be in a position to have the self-rule and to rule their own lands by themselves, and the British would minimize their interference in the political affairs of the subcontinent. Number 3, immediately after war, elections for Constituent Assembly shall be held. So it means that after the war there would be elections in the subcontinent, and as per those elections the new assembly would be formed, and that new assembly would draft the new constitution of the subcontinent. So this was the plan. So provinces would opt out of the union. Provinces might declare independence getting out of that Indian Union, which was given over here in the first point, that they may the provinces, they might go out of the union and they may declare independence if they wanted to. So again, sort of plus point for the Muslim majority provinces, that they could be having a sort of chance in their mind that they could declare independence if the option is given to them. But again, the point is, after the war, as there was no Constituent Assembly at that time, elections had not held yet, and the new constitution was not there, the dominion status was not there yet, then how could it be accepted, whether if all the things are still in the pipeline, or you can say on the paper or in the minds. So defense and finance ministries still under British control. So all other things would be handed over to the British, to the locals, sorry, except defense and finance. These two things would be controlled by the British as per the proposals brought by Sir Stafford Cripps in 1942. And failure. Again, a 7 marks question. Why did Cripps Mission fail in India in 1942? This can be the question. No partition mentioned in the plan. I mean, there was no acceptance of the idea of, or you can say the demand of the Muslim League, that was creation of Pakistan. I mean, the Lahore resolution or Pakistan resolution of 1940. So it means that Muslim League straight away rejected it, as the proposals did not have any proposal related to the independence or partition of the subcontinent. Congress wanted immediate control of central government rather than after the war. As Congress tried to blackmail the British, even in 1939, when they resigned at a time when the war had broken out and the British were indulged into that war at that particular time, the Congress governments, they resigned to pressurize the British so that they might leave India and giving control to the Hindus, I mean the Indian National Congress. So at this particular time, again they tried to blackmail the British that why after the war, why not the control of India should be given to the locals straight away in as per these proposals, and why to wait for the after the war issue. So British were negotiating for a weak position as they were in the war, they were under pressure, they were depressed, and that's why they could not be able to present the workable proposals in the subcontinent, as they were just giving a, you can say this, trying to give the Muslims and the Hindus a sort of sweet pill to have the solution of the issue after the war, but that was rejected both by the Muslim League and Indian National Congress. So this is how the Cripps Mission failed. Why was it important? Muslim League showed that they will not accept anything less than Pakistan. So it means that rejection of Cripps Mission strengthened the idea of independence, right? So it means that this gave another aspect that now the Muslim League would not be going backwards away from the demand of Pakistan. So it means that Muslim League showed consistency on Pakistan resolution and would not accept anything beyond the independence or creation of Pakistan. So this gave Muslim League a bit more strength to move in the politics of the subcontinent. British realized that they could not rule India for a long period now. So on the rejection of the Cripps Mission, now the British started thinking that now the sun is going to set. So sunset was really very much inevitable, and they started realizing it after the rejection of Cripps Mission. Number 3, Muslim League realized that Congress was totally against Pakistan, as Congress wanted the control of the whole of the subcontinent and the central government at once, against the proposal given by Cripps Mission after the war. So it means that Muslim League was perceiving that again Congress wanted the same sort of rule which they already had imposed on the Muslims from 1937 to 1939. So British, for the first time, allowed Indians to make their own constitution or constitutions for the provinces. So it means that they were so much desperate to gain the support of the locals in the war that they were allowing them to draft their own constitution. As previously, if I talk about the parliamentary reforms or all previous acts of the previous century, or the Monte-Chelmsford reforms, or the Government of India Act of 1939, whatever they 35, whatever they presented over here, they all were made by the British government, British Parliament in UK. But this time they were giving the locals the opportunity to make the constitution for themselves. So that was somehow the greater success of the locals, that finally the British were on the back foot and they were giving some chance to the locals to draft their own constitution according to their own will or wish. So these are the expected past paper questions related to these topics. Why was the Cripps Mission of 1942 unsuccessful? Why did the Cripps Mission of 1942 fail? Same questions with different wordings, and a small source question can be of 3 marks if it comes as the part A of the compulsory question. What was Cripps Mission? or you may say that who was Sir Stafford Cripps? And I will explain these questions in when I will discuss the 4 marks questions of this tenure. And another one, this was related to cabinet mission. I will discuss it later of 1946 events. Why did the cabinet mission of 92 fail? Again, you know that the year is also given that in which year this question has already come in the past papers. And if I talk about these ones, May, June 2009, and again this question was also there that May, June 2019 it is, yes. So all these questions, and I will also explain in the next lesson that why was the Quit India movement formed in 1942 as the British were depressed and British were in war, and Congress launched this movement, Quit India movement, so that to get rid of the British, so that they could be able to gain control of the whole of the subcontinent. So this is how the things are, and this is all from my side today related to this topic. And now in the next lesson I will talk about the Gandhi Jinad talks of 1944. And again a request, do not forget to subscribe my channel. Also press the bell icon so that you may get the notification of my all new videos on your cell phone. Thank you so much. Raja Umar is signing off. Allah Hafiz.